The famed gunfight that people still remember, Rebellion, for almost a decade later. Excellent cinematography helped push a full fight of momentum shifts into legacy.
Boy, guy, man, make sure y'all subscribe. He's a broke bitch, man.
Hopping that way, we get so rolling. Ayy, bitch, you ain't gang, don't even know him. For the 808 sitting, I'm finna go in. How to run the bell, like where you going. Hopping the way, we get so rolling. Ayy, bitch, you ain't gang, don't even know him. For the 808 sitting, I'm finna go in. How to run the bell, like where you going.
What's going on, YouTube? It's me, G0D. It's your boy Trey God. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're reacting to the best anime fights of each year, 2011 from 2021. I'm hype as hell, you know. Oh, you know, we here for their hands. If you've seen any of these videos, we are here for the hands. I'm ready to see these hands. Who's throwing them? You know what I mean? Who's getting their ass whooped? So I really appreciate like all the support y'all been showing the last couple videos, man. Like I really appreciate everyone who left comments. I'm probably gonna put some up here, you know what I mean? Hey, shout out to y'all. But I appreciate y'all for real. But yeah, without further ado, man, let's get straight to the video. Oh my god, I'm already what's going on? What is this?
Well, that didn't take too long, did it? I had so much fun writing my decade in review for action anime that I decided, why not do something similar again? I'm glad that you seem to have generally enjoyed the video, and I'm very happy for the feedback and suggestions I received. However, instead of going over to the next genre, I wanted to put a bit of a twist on this one. I've got a strong feeling that I'll keep going back to this format soon, so I've decided to push the other genres to the side for now and focus on a staple of a lot of action anime: fights. You guys love fights, and the stats back that up. So for today, I'll be going over what I feel are the best anime fights to occur in a particular year over the past decade. As usual, the decision's going to be subjective, but I'll try to find the most generalist measure to pick my favourite fight per year. And if I happen to overlook something, don't be afraid to notify me in the comments section. I'll also limit the winners to one per series to keep the entries as diverse as possible. Consider this a compliment to the previous video on best action anime of the decade. As always, please hit the subscribe button to help the channel grow. It doesn't take too long, and your contribution is always greatly appreciated.
Subscribe to ViniiTube,
2011. As we close the book on a decade of anime action, fights herald the dawn of a new era. 2011 for me will always be known as the year of Steins Gate and Madoka Magica, as I mentioned in the previous video. The latter in particular is a perpetual favourite of mine, and the battle between Homura and Walpurgis Night feels like a strong contender in terms of its narrative importance and how over the top it was. In the previous video, the best action anime came down to Fate Zero and Hunter x Hunter, and they've got their awesome fights too. However, I'd like to talk about how 2011 sets the bookends for some legacy series that were pushing strong from the decade prior. Alucard finally had his much-awaited showdown with Anderson, and it's every bit as intense and violent as we expect something from Hellsing to be. Still, if we look at legacy and narrative importance, I think that few can beat out my pick for the year: Ichigo versus Aizen. It was a long time coming, but full power Ichigo and Aizen in his nth evolution collided in a clash that marked the end of an era, one of the most beloved shonen of the 2000s. It's also a notable fight in that it functions more as a flex for Ichigo, who surpassed whatever evolution Aizen could have. For the first time, the smug villain finally found a foe beyond his comprehension after spending literal months just trouncing everything thrown at him. Yeah, I'm aware that Bleach as an anime continued past this arc, but for a lot of fans, I mean, that was really it. This was the final battle and climax that they'd all been waiting for, and we finally saw Aizen defeated after almost a decade. 2012.
And I low-key, I don't, this is just random as hell. I low-key remember that. I remember watching that like really like young. It was like on Adult Swim. Yeah, I remember watching an Adult Swim like really young. It was probably like 4 a.m. in the morning, because you know when you kid, you have insomnia for no reason. Every kid just wants to stay up all night. I got older and I'm just like, fuck that nigga, I want to go to sleep. Like what? But yeah, like I just vividly remember watching that fight.
When I mentioned Fate Zero a while ago, well, the show ran all the way to 2012 for your information, and that's why my personal favourite fight from the series qualifies for 2012 and will be taking the crown. Ryder versus Gilgamesh? No, I personally find myself leaning more towards Kiritsugu versus Kirei. What I like about this fight is the fact that it's not about the spectacle. It's not about the huge armies or the walls of swords that you relate to the Fate series. It's how down and dirty the two got, and I feel like it encapsulates what sets Fate Zero apart compared to the rest of the franchise.
Oh my god.
2012 is also when another epic fight, Gon vs Hisoka, took place. It's one of the best underdog fights out there in anime, and I hope that you'll take a look at it.
Ooh, okay. I still haven't watched this show.
I don't have a lot of honorable mentions
Well,
off the top of my head for this year, honestly. This year has a lot of good action shows, but few really had that level of oomph that made them stand out. Since 2012 when the SAO craze hit town, I guess we can consider the Gleam-Eyes fight here. It is pretty damn iconic after all. 2013.
Okay.
We all know that 2013 is Attack on Titan's year. In terms of sheer influence, none of the shows this year can compare to it. The female Titan arc is an emotional roller coaster, and the Eren versus female Titan fight was a great way to cap off the series.
Them fucking hands, nigga.
Psycho Pass also gave us Golgami versus Makishima. It's such an amazingly choreographed battle, and it would be a shame not to give it the spotlight here. Whereas Ippo versus Sawamura didn't have quite that same amount of choreography, it more than makes up for it with intensity and hype. And if you're up for more magical elements and one-man army fights, this is the year Madara wrecked the Shinobi Alliance. But none of those are my winners for this year. That's because this is the year where Madoka Rebellion came out, and along with it came a fight that at the time pushed the limits of action sequences in an anime feature film production. Yes, I'm talking about Homura versus Mami. The famed gunfight that people still remember Rebellion for almost a decade later. Excellent cinematography helped push a full fight of momentum shifts into legendary status. And the moment I saw this fight, I was going to make it to one of these lists someday.
I don't care whatever. I don't even remember what the fuck else he said. I don't give.
If you remember my video on action anime, you'd know that 2014 is also quite the busy year for action anime. Lots of big hitters spread all around the year, giving us a healthy selection. Starting off, we have Noragami's final battle, which feels like a modern take on Rurouni Kenshin arc's climax. I'm not fond of how Rabo got defeated, but the context of the fight gives it enough emotional weight. For those who were looking for Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works in said video, I did hold back on mentioning it due to my self-imposed sequel clause. I considered it a sequel to Fate Zero. With me shifting to series clause this time, it's fully legible for a top spot on this list. Well, the Kuzuki fight looks very inviting, but Unlimited Blade Works wouldn't hit its peak this year, so let's just have it waiting on the back burner for now. Akame ga Kill also aired this year. Apologies to the fans for missing out on my other video, but it's about time for it to make an appearance here. Akame vs Kurome is one of my favourite sibling fights in anime after all. Air's death versus Akame was one epic fight as well, and that's exactly why I feel it deserves a mention here.
Damn,
as a side note, the Naruto final arc rages on through this year, giving us one of its best fights in not just Shippuden, but the entire series. Obito versus Kakashi. Their fates finally collide in this climactic battle, brilliantly capping off one of the most intriguing and captivating backstory feuds in the franchise. That's all because 2014 is when we got the famed Netero versus Meruem battle in Hunter x Hunter. If you were to ask me to pick the best fight from Hunter x Hunter, this would be it. Of course, I'm not just reducing the series' appeal to just fights, but in terms of a spectacle itself, I do find this one hard to top. If I look back at the series, some fights, like the famous one with Adult Gon, come close to the level of epicness, but the appeal from those fights come from somewhere else, like the context. If you're looking at just choreography and plain anime brawling along with a dramatic conclusion, Netero versus Meruem is where it's at.
What just happened?
As I said in the action anime video, this is the year of One Punch Man, and rightfully so. It steps up to the plate for what I think is the fight of the year, the battle between Saitama and Boros. In terms of the sheer spectacle and the over-the-top appeal, not a lot of fights from this year come to mind. It's also the climax of what was the year's most influential anime, so it does deserve the spot in my opinion. And it's a shame because this is also the year when my favourite battle in the Fate Stay Night UBW happened. Archer versus Shiro is so strong thematically. The way the fight turned out, as well as the masterful placement of Last Stardust, creates one of my favourite moments in 2015. Alas, I put this as runner-up because Fate has an even better looking and bigger fight lined up later. Spoilers, I guess. Dio and Jotaro also had their iconic battle this year, a fight that will send
We gonna react to the
shockwaves and
openings,
memes
though, you know
through
what
the
I mean?
JoJo universe for years to come.
We'll react to those
For
soon.
these picks, I do give honorable mentions to Alfonso versus Leon from Garo and Kei's Misaki versus Saruhiko. Both are underrated shows that you might want to check out. 2016. 2016 is a landmark year for anime. After its long, storied run, Naruto finally came to an end and gave us the final battle that we've all been clamoring for. Naruto versus Sasuke, for me, is the only proper way for the series to close its book. The two, now in their peak form after more than a decade of history, have their destined showdown.
Oh.
And it ended beautifully too,
Sing on
with a
that
virtual
bitch.
tie where Sasuke eventually admits defeat. It's not about the physical battle, but the emotional one here, guys.
God damn. It's
My fight for the year goes on in a similar tangent. Bitter rivals and friends turned enemies Gintoki
Goat
and
Tama.
Takasugi had one hell of a battle in 2016, and
Goat
that's my
Tama.
pick for this year's best fight. Why?
I'm finna react to those
personally,
openings too.
I felt more emotional investment in this fight. Yeah, Gintama's not as popular as Naruto, generally speaking, but in terms of how the emotions of the fighters got conveyed in this fight,
Ooh.
this is just on a whole nother level. It's also not just the fighters throwing big fireballs or overpowered plot armor bombs at each other. I'm not sure how popular of an opinion that is, but Gintoki versus Takasugi takes the history and big fight feel that Naruto versus Sasuke has and grounds it into a more realistic and artistic form. If we're just looking at animation,
put that shit
however,
through his
I
arm.
definitely give the win to Mob dismantling
I don't know why I caught that
Beru
so
or
late.
Mob versus Koyama. Unfortunately, the
Oh,
fight just
yeah.
didn't have the emotional investment
versus
or the
that
history
shit
for me
was
to declare
fire,
it
bro.
the
That
winner over the
animation was
Gintama
crazy,
fight.
bro.
Oh yeah, this
Mob
year
Psycho
also
was-
saw My Hero
Mob Psycho
Academia's
was so
debut,
fire.
but frankly, none of the early fights are that impressive, relatively speaking, for now.
Yeah.
Closest contender I could think of would be All Might versus Nomu. 2017. However, in 2017, My Hero Academia took it up a notch, giving us its best fight up until that point. Midoriya versus Todoroki.
versus, yep.
I also
And he
found
was-
Todoroki to be
he
the
was
more
a-
likable rival to Midoriya.
So fire.
Yeah, Bakugo has a
So
history and
fire.
all of that, but as far as fellow heroes whose stories Midoriya likewise plays a big role in, Todoroki is the man. I really loved how his ideologies collide with Midoriya, and this fight encapsulates that.
Oh my god. Oh.
Black Clover also got its start this
You
year,
gotta
but it's the
use- you
definition
gotta
of a
use
late
his fire
bloomer.
side.
At
He
this
was
point
like,
of its
fuck all
run,
that
it's
talking,
mostly
nigga.
meme fodder, which I feel is a huge disservice actually. A lot of the most epic moments and fights in the series are stowed
Black
away in the
Clover.
latter episodes and arcs, so those of you who are fans of the series will just have to wait a little longer now, okay? Oh, and SAO Ordinal Scale came out, and along with it came the pinnacle of SAO fights. The raid boss battle in the film's climax
What
is the
is
epic
that?
finale we
Did it
never
have
got
three
for the
Ts?
series
What was
proper's
that?
Aincrad arc. For this year, I give the title to a shonen great that somehow reinvigorated itself somewhere in this decade. Yes, Dragon Ball Super takes the title with its amazing Goku versus Jiren fight. Now, I don't know about you, but I would call this a candidate for the most intense fight we've covered in the list so far. This is the one with Super Saiyan Blue and Ultra Instinct for those who have been following the series, and it pretty much shows us the heart of the Dragon Ball that 90s kids have loved. Long, drawn-out fights and twists and turns after every
Yeah, this
false
fight
finish.
so
And if I
fire,
remember
bro.
correctly, it
The
even crashed the
only
Crunchyroll
positive-
website. Now that's something you don't see often.
The only positive in Super was this tournament of power.
2018. Let me get this out of the way as quickly as I can. Goku versus Jiren Round 2, featuring the iconic
And I hear they're still
perfect form
fucking
of
hoeing
Ultra
Vegeta
Instinct
in the
took
Super
place this
manga.
year.
So,
now I still
man,
feel
fuck
that the
Super.
first fight slightly edges out the second one in
GT
terms of the
grade in
actual
Super,
fighting
I
and
don't
hype
fuck.
behind it. Seven Deadly Sins also had its blaze of glory here with the exciting Meliodas versus Commandments fight. A fitting end before the animation went to hell and it became meme fodder. But I still wish the next season's got
Where
way
did his
more
arm
love.
go?
It feels bad on how
Oh,
they
the
wasted
arms just be
Meliodas
coming off.
versus
It's like,
Escanor with that
how?
travesty of an adaptation.
Ew. Ew.
My Hero Academia also reached what I feel is a good end point for a chunk of the story, with One For All and All Might clashing after years of build-up. The hype is completely justified here, and it serves as a fitting closure to the world of My Hero Academia that we started with. The landscape
lie.
and the name of the game completely changed from that point onward, and that episode is worth a watch even for that fight alone. None of
I
those,
thought
though,
that fight
won the
was just
fight
a
of the year in
little-
2018. The winner?
That was just a little
That's the
underwhelming, bro. I
Momoshiki
don't know.
fight. Boruto may have its whole slew of criticisms, but for a moment,
expecting
the
more
Sasuke and Naruto versus Momoshiki
you know,
fight made me forget
wasn't
about
bad,
all of those.
like,
Hey, I can't help it now,
it,
can I?
like,
Seeing the two legends of the previous series come together and kick ass once
I
again
would've
brought
liked
the
to
kid
see,
out in me,
you know,
and I couldn't help but immerse myself
strong
in the
niggas.
battle.
But you know, you can,
even after
'cause, you know,
stepping back and looking at it from a more
it's
objective
whatever,
perspective, the fight does still hold up. It's a
This
joy
shit
to
go
watch
crazy.
with how their powers and chemistry with each other have developed through time.
You know, I've been thinking, and I've been real positive on Boruto.
I'd be talking about a lot
come
of
to
things.
rewatch it.
Favorite fights there are plenty, and I could spend an entire day talking about
It is
them.
last,
Maybe I could go for one of Mob's Season 2 beautifully animated fights, or that time Levi gave us a masterclass on how to pivot a monumental sacrifice into pure, methodical destruction. We've also got the climax of the Luffy versus Katakuri fight this year, which easily was one of my favorite fights in One Piece. The Heaven's Feel movies are also screening around about this time, and they really did the Saber versus Berserker fight justice. Speaking of fate, Babylonia still hasn't ended its run at this point, but we already got a very good fight in Gorgon versus Ushiwakamaru, as well as the Quetzalcoatl fight. But that's not what we're here for now, is it, right? We all know you're here for the single most influential fight in anime history, in my opinion, which of course is Tanjiro versus Rui. It pretty much sets the bar for TV anime fights with how much it enhanced what was already a goosebump-inducing
Season 2 coming out
in the manga.
December?
Ufotable made magic happen, and if you're still on the fence about me calling this one of the most influential fights in anime history, then let me ask you this question. Where else did an anime fight break the internet so much that it turned an anime with decent popularity into the sensation of the year overnight?
Like,
it's still arguable, but in my experience, never had I seen that phenomenon before Demon Slayer. Not an event, not a plot twist.
I remember, bro, I was watching Demon Slayer before it was like crazy big, you know what I mean? When it like first dropped, like I remember like the day of like watching that shit. Out of nowhere, I blink and everyone's just, it becomes Demon Slayer fans. Like I blink and then Demon Slayer is just crazy huge, bro. Like I don't know where it came, but like it just happened so quick. I've never it was so fast. It was so fast, dude. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, I remember like with Jujutsu Kaisen, I took a little break to watch Jujutsu Kaisen, blinking. Did everyone just talk about Jujutsu Kaisen? I'm like, damn, I've been on this show. I was like what? Like, I don't know, man.
But a fight that was
You gotta reset the camera.
Series into never before seen heights. I mean, that's just unheard of. If we're going with influence in the community combined with the animation and a bit of context, there's little doubt that Demon Slayer takes the crown.
Yeah, the animation was crazy too.
2020.
Movie was fire. Oh wait,
so Demon Slayer fever was in full swing in 2020, and it capitalizes on the momentum by releasing the Infinity Train movie that caps off with one of the most emotional battles in the series.
But like that
Goku
fight put
Akaza.
everybody on Demon Slayer. That's what I was meaning to say. I got my thoughts right. Twitter was going crazy, bro. I remember Twitter going insane.
I would have been tempted to pen this as a winner candidate outright if not for the series clause I had. Then again, even if it's not for such clause, this fight narrowly loses out to another theatrical Ufotable production. 2020 also saw the grand finale of the Heaven's Feel movie, and with it comes the winner of 2020's Fight of the Year, Shiro and Ryder versus Saber Alter. At this point, we're being desensitized to spectacular fight choreography and effects. You can blame Ufotable for that. Fights of this quality have become so normalized now that this one deserves a special mention for how it finally put Shiro and Ryder's strategy against Saber's sheer unmatched power as seen in the previous movies. We also get to see Ryder go all out, which is a treat because the poor servant has been a glorified jobber in other routes. On the side of TV anime, we have the attention-catching Gleipnir fight that allowed the show to start off with some momentum for such a niche title. FGO also ended with a Tiamat fight and a barrage of noble phantasms that shattered my expectations for a mobile game adaptation. If there's one thing that God of High School is really good for, it's just a showcase of fights. Heck, the running joke is that this series is just fight after fight after fight. And while I lean towards agreeing with that, at least the guys behind the production committee did the fights pretty
God,
competently.
I ain't never seen God of High School.
Chinese anime fights like the often featured Fog Hill fights and the Hitori no Shita ones also debuted
I remember
here.
seeing that one on the
my
list.
old video that you can access up there.
Oh my
Overall, 2020 has been a great year for fights despite the delays and other real-life circumstances that should have hampered production. 2021. We finally reached the present.
Curious.
Congratulations. There's quite a lot to be said for 2021, so let's get some of the honorable mentions out of the way. After showcasing its worth through a lot of epic battles and hype moments, Black Clover goes out with a banger of a final arc. The fight that led to that arc, Asta and Yami versus Dante, and it's every bit as cool as fans made it out to be. Naruto and Sasuke also team up again, and this time in a far less successful battle against Jigen. However, this got the shonen community buzzing again, and I find it funny yet sad that one of the only times Boruto seems to gain this amount of traction are when the legacy characters are involved in a big way. I also gave Vivi the nod for Action Anime of the Year, and I can say that the whole Diva vs. Yugo segment does deserve mention. Gintama ended this year with Gintama the Final Movie. It gave us Gintoki vs. Utsuro, another amazing fight with a lot of emotional weight. Man, I'm going to miss that series so much. Once I look at the year, however, I think that I can safely give the crown to Hanami vs. Yuji and Todo. Move over, UFO table. Mappa's ready to step up to the plate. And while it felt difficult to choose amongst the numerous masterfully crafted fights in Jujutsu Kaisen, I gave this fight the win. Why? It feels like the one with the most hype behind it. Sure, Gojo broke the internet to a lesser extent. Yeah, Nanami and Megumi both got to show off their cool stuff. Even Nobara got to show off her sadistic and dangerous side. However, if you look at context and what the fights mean for the protagonist, seeing the master-student tandem of Yuji and Todo team up against the big boss is such a joy. And that's a wrap. It's been a decade of epic anime fights, and the cool thing about this is that I barely touched the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure that lost in the shuffle are countless hidden gems, and I'd ask you to introduce me to some of them. So, how did you find this video? If you liked it, hit the like button and tell me in the comments section so that I know whether you're fond of the new direction I'm taking with these lists.
I thought, oh shit. Okay, alright. Yeah, man, that's the end of the video, y'all. If y'all enjoyed it, leave a like. What y'all think is the best anime fight? What's y'all favorite anime fight? Yeah, it's your boy Drake. We're gone. See you. Peace.